getting inducted as an Amherst Hall of Famer in a town you grew up in and idolized the team you're going in with. What does this moment mean?
It's special. It's an emotional night for us as a family. You know, just having been raised here, been an Amherst fan for so long, and you know, I keep telling people when I was growing up, you wanted to be a Rochester American. We didn't have tons of access to the NHL, and you know, the names that I remember growing up were always Amherst.
Who are some of those names? I mean, what are your earliest memories of the Rochester Americans?
So it would have been Jordy Robertson, Jacques Cloutier, Val James. You know, obviously a little later in the '80s, Gates Orlando and Jody Gage. But the first memories are, you know, Jordy, Jacques Cloutier, and Val James are the names that stick out the most.
You're the first one from Rochester, though, out of the '68. That's got to be that's got to be pretty special for you.
Yeah, it is. You know, obviously, you know, there's been a lot of great players come out of Rochester. You know, they haven't had the luxury of playing for the Rochester Americans, so that's to my advantage, I guess, today. So, but you know, obviously, you know, Rochester's had a lot of success with players coming out of here in the last few years.
How nice was it? I mean, you had to leave when you were 16, whatever it was, to go play junior, and then, you know, you're wherever and, you know, across the country playing. How nice was it to come home, you know, at some point in the career?
It was really nice, and you know, the first time I came back here, you know, it was come back here and play for the Rochester Americans until I retired, and you know, I fell into a good situation with Buffalo and was able to recapture my NHL career. But when I signed here in 2001, I had you know, my daughter, and I had one on the way. So, you know, the intention at that point was to play here as long as I can and you know, create that home. But coming home after playing away for so long, you know, was fantastic. Obviously, we didn't have the communication avenues that they have today. So, you know, once a week phone calls for many years was you know, the way I communicated with back home. So coming back home was a thrill.
Do you ever think back to Game 7 in Carolina?
No. You know, I don't. I concentrate on Game 6.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you know, obviously, you know, there's you know, mistakes happen, and you know, I would have loved to. Had the team been in a better situation as a whole. I mean, the amount of defensemen we lost, and but I think if you look back at it, to get to Game 7 is a heck of an accomplishment. And you know, as Lindy told me after the playoffs, I went from 7th D to 2nd D, and you know, that's not a great position for a player to be in that situation.
How frustrating was that year? I mean, you were so close. Everyone kind of thought that you guys were going to go to the Cup and maybe even win it.
Yeah, so you know, it was frustrating, but at the same sense, nobody thought of that in December or January. Nobody thought that. So that team, I think we were coming out of the lockout. Rules had changed. You know, we were a benefit of that with some of the players that we had. Brian Campbell blossomed, Derek Roy, and Jason Palmenville benefited from those new rules. So, you know, I don't think the expectation, probably even going into playoffs, was to be a Stanley Cup contender. And, you know, I don't think that started to really become a vision until we beat Ottawa in Game 5.
Do you have a favorite memory from your time here?
I do. Actually, it's, you know, as a player, my first game here was shortly after 9/11. It was a full barn, and, you know, flag was draped through the whole ice, and it was just a very surreal time. You know, the crowd was very into it. You know, as an arena, you felt, you know, part of something special. So, you know, I think that, you know, that game, my first game here, was definitely one of the more memorable ones.
You could say your formal playing career started here as a junior Amherst. So what would that teenage version of you say about this moment right now?
It's unbelievable. You know, I you know, as a teenager, you know, you hope and you have these, you know, wild dreams. But, you know, to have played in the NHL and then to be able to come home and play for my hometown team is beyond anything imaginable in my teenage years. So, you know, I obviously worked towards that goal, but never would have dreamt that as a teenager.
You think what was more unimaginable, playing in the NHL or running as a politician?
Well, yeah, I envisioned myself as an NHL player. I never envisioned myself as a politician. So I'd like to say public servant better than politician. So, I think I have as much hatred for politicians as anybody else, and I was one of them. So, you know, it was a driving force behind me doing it, quite frankly, is to, you know, try to get someone in there that, you know, from a different background and a different reason for doing it. And, you know, my reason is I was a lifelong Roanoke resident and, you know, cared about the community and wanted to manage it better than I thought it was being managed.
If you remember, what led to you playing defense instead of some other position?
That's a great question. I think it was our squirt major season. My dad was the coach. We had a pretty good set of forwards, and you know, we needed to fill a spot at defense, and who better than the coach's son to have to go back there and play. And you know, that's really the story of it. And you know, like I said, we had a great team. We needed a defenseman, and instead of getting an argument with another parent, why not put your own kid back there? And I guess you can't argue with that now.
You're a Rochester native, and when you were here playing, you're four-time McCulloch Trophy winner for the community service you did here. So talk about what you do now, but how much did it mean to you then to be a part of the community that shaped who you are?
Yeah, so being a part of the community, obviously, that you're born and raised in is easy. You know, you want to be part of the good things, and obviously you get a lot of requests to do things, and I didn't say no too often. So it just came naturally, and you know, we did it obviously in other cities, but coming to your hometown and being able to interact with people that you see on a daily basis and have known made that part of it very easy.
You miss hockey?
I do. You know, game day and payday probably are the two favorite. But, you know, I was very lucky to have kids that all played. You know, I've spent almost every weekend this winter at a hockey rink watching my kids play. So parts of it, you know, I'm still involved. I feel you know, lucky that my kids took up this sport and have been successful at it, and it's also allowed me to, you know, extend that love for the game by just doing something a little bit different. I coached them, and now I just get to enjoy watching them play.
What's it like to go from not just playing for your hometown team, but, you know, wearing a letter, being the captain for this team? What did that mean?
Yeah, I think that was, you know, just another, you know, candle on the cake, so to say. I you know, being 34 and 35, it kind of came naturally when the rest of the team is, you know, and they're below 25. So, but it meant a lot. I was captain and assistant captain at a lot of the teams I played for. But again, it goes back to, you know, seeing some of the great captains that were here as in the history of the Rochester Americans, and being able to add that to my resume was a bonus.